Validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa, I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. We are working on that very special Thursday. Enjoying days off for some of us, and some of us still grinding at the iron here. Today's a very interesting show because we're going to be talking about how we can organize our lives and say goodbye to that burnout. So we're going to be trying to fix the overwhelming scheduling that we usually do from day to day. And I'm going to give you guys some tips and tricks on how to make that stuff happen. We're still paying attention to what's going on. Tomorrow's the 20th. That is the day that Friday, that is the day that TikTok was supposed to be sold. So it is not sold from my recollection, which means that we're looking at potentially, like I told you guys before, another 90 more days. We're also looking at our dividend rotation, our dividend capture strategy. I was talking to you guys about over the past couple of weeks, how you should be trying to buy into AG Mortgage in our dividend rotation within the next 4 days. Understanding today was a holiday. You've got tomorrow and Monday, and I think Tuesday, and that's about it. If you're going to be on before the close date, because if I recall correctly, the ex-dividend date is the 25th, if I remember correctly. But we're going to be talking more about that closer to the ex-dividend date. Then we're going to be selling after the ex-dividend date, and we're going to be making our way to some of the other things we're going to be doing in July, such as Two Harbor, buying into Two Harbor. We also know that Orchid Island and AGNC are going to be one later in the month, because they typically wrap up at the end of the month, somewhere between the 28th and the 30th, usually the last day of the month. And we're going to be trying to grab those after the 23rd, because as I told you guys before, I was monitoring the progress of the stocks, and I seen that a dip occurs right after the 20th, between the 20th and the 23rd. So I'm going to look and see if that dip happens again, because as long as I buy in by the 28th or the 27th, then we'll still be on the books. So somewhere between the 23rd and the 25th, when I find that dip, I'm going to let you guys know about it. And that's going to be when we buy in at the lowest level, so that when there is the increase and it levels off for the ex-dividend payouts, then when we do sell, we're selling at a higher rate than what we bought into it. So I want to make sure that you guys pay attention to that coming up, because the goal is to make money, not leave money on the table. And that's what we're going to be doing. Note that throughout the weekend, we're going to be giving you other tips and pointers. Today, we're going to be talking about organization and planning. And I'm going to give you some details as to why that's important. Then just note that after Sunday's members only show that's open to the public right now, we're going to be doing questions and comments to the fans. And then Monday, we're going to be talking about how the economy is still shifting from the political disarray. And then that Trump phone with the Trump line of service, and what all services that are supposed to be provided from that. So stay tuned throughout the week, because we're live 7 nights a week. We don't let the sun rise without going live. And while we're supposed to start at the top of the hour, we typically start at about 10:35 or 11:35. If we're on the East Coast, we're doing it at 11:35. If we're in Central America, it's like 10:35. So, you'll catch us roundabout quarter till. Make sure that you guys like and subscribe. And enjoy the knowledge and information that I have for you guys, because after we finish going over all of this stuff, when we start talking about the things that you can benefit from, because this is all public knowledge, you can always go and ask the Google lady, because those who don't believe can go and check for yourself, because I got the information the same way you can get the information. It's just that I was looking for it and most people weren't. Common knowledge isn't all too common, because not too many people go and look for knowledge. But if you're coming to this and that, you're going to be getting a bunch of knowledge that is organized for the benefit of your ability to improve your lifestyle and your decision-making skills, and give you more satisfaction with what you've got going on. So real quick, special shout out to a lot of the guys that come to the channel on a regular basis. I really appreciate y'all. And let's go ahead and get things underway. First, I want to start you guys with a question. Have you ever felt like you've been drowning in a sea of planners, to-do lists, productivity apps, but you're still overwhelmed with chaotic and just plain speeding towards that burnout phase? Anybody that has ever been in a situation where no matter how well you organize things, you still felt pressure to meet timelines, throw a clock into the comment section. Oh, throw a clock or an hourglass into the comment section. But you're definitely not alone if that's the case. And before I move forward, just note, you guys that are watching us on Twitch and Twitter, you guys can also click those links, approve the mic, approve the camera, be brought on in real time. And you also can comment in the comments section. Your comments, if they're appropriate, will be seen up here in the comments section. And I do respond. It's an interactive podcast. So if you guys got some appropriate questions, I know that you guys on Twitch and Twitter are used to watching and listening and learning as opposed to actually having an active conversation. But just note, as you've learned earlier this week, that you can have an active conversation. Even if I disagree with what you have to say, this is going to be an appropriate conversation because it's a open-minded, open mic, open podcast. So you guys can come in and say whatever you have to say. Reasonably appropriate, though, because we do got some jitterbugs up in here that slide in that's under the age of 18 that's trying to learn how to make money for themselves as well. So definitely make sure that if you've got something that you want to know, or if you got something that you want to add, if you don't do it in real time, you can always throw it into the comment section, and that will keep you included as well as informed. So the latest stats are frankly terrifying, and we're going to get into those because some reports show that a whopping 82% of employees are at risk of burnout, and younger folks are feeling it even earlier in their careers. And here's a little secret most organization gurus won't tell you. A lot of traditional systems are pretty much designed to make you feel like a failure. They're rigid, one size fits all, and they totally ignore the beautiful, messy way our human brains actually work. So if you've ever started a perfect empty planner page and felt a wave of anxiety instead of excitement, then this is something that you guys will be able to benefit from. Because did you know that a staggering 91% of people have reported feeling super high or even extreme levels of stress in the past year? For so many of us, a huge chunk of that stress comes from feeling disorganized and swamped, which, surprise, surprise, leads straight to burnout. But what if I told you the problem isn't you? What if it's the outdated, ill-fitted tools you've been trying to force yourself to use? It's time to ditch the guilt and try something that's radically different. So forget everything you've been told about needing more discipline or a fancier planner, because no matter how fancy the planner is, you have to be able to stick to a routine. We're about to explore 9 wonderfully weird organization tricks that honestly brought sanity back to my life, and I know they can do the same for you. So these aren't just your grandma's organization tips. I mean, unless your grandma was some kind of renegade psychologist who loved doing things a bit differently. We'll look at exactly how these methods work in real life, and more importantly, the psychological perks that help you conquer chaos and kick burnout to the curb, starting right now. So if the usual methods have left you feeling more frazzled than focused, trust me, you're in the right place. Make sure you guys like and subscribe as you pass through. Special shout out to Bayside and Mr. Satellite, because I know they're going to be diving in later tonight, and Usman. Let's kick things off with a trick that's all about getting visual clarity and that's satisfying feeling of, well, doing something. The 2-column whiteboard method. Let's be real. Traditional to-do lists can be a total nightmare. They're static, they get messy, and rewriting them, soul crushing. This method is exactly opposite of that. So How does it work? Grab a small whiteboard, nothing huge, just something you can keep easily in sight. And when we start thinking about easily in sight, you're grabbing the size of whiteboard that you can potentially put on your fridge, put on your closet door, put on your bedroom door, put on your front door, on the inside of your house on your way out, put on the wall next to something that you're gonna have to face at eye level, because one of the key factors of trying to organize your information is to have the accessibility to your information in a place where you can readily see it, because the thing is, out of sight, out of mind. Meaning that if you're not looking for this whiteboard every day, or you're not looking for your day planner every day before you start performing activities, you're going to pass by all the information that's on it. You're not going to check it, you're not going to update it, and you're not going to plan for things. So you want to make sure that you put it where you can see it, and typically in a place where you're not going to struggle looking for it. So you want to put it around about eye level, so that as you pass it, you can actually glance at it when you don't need to add to it or adjust it, and be able to see what's going on, which is why a lot of people put stuff like that on a fridge, because in order for you to open the door, you've got it on the top fridge. You're able to look at all of the stuff that is on that planner. For those individuals that have confidential information, you don't want to have your planner out in the open. Don't worry, we've got some information for you guys down the line. But for this whiteboard, you want to divide it into 2 columns. Label one of them the master list, or brain dump, or someday, whatever you feel right for you. And the other, today's focus. The master list column is where every single task, big or small, that's bouncing around in your brain gets dumped. Got a new business idea? Write it down. Need to call your aunt? Write it down. On the list, that nagging feeling you forgot something important, probably you should write it down. Figure out what I forgot. Write that down. This is basically your brain's external hard drive. Just getting it all out there reduces that mental load, that feeling like you have 1,000 tabs open in your head. And for those of you who have a laptop or a computer that has thousands of tabs open on a regular basis, you know exactly how this feels. Now, the magic really happens with the today's focus column. Each morning or the night before bed, if you're an overachiever, look at your master list and physically move no more than 3 to 5 essential tasks into the today's focus column. You literally erase it from one side and write it on the other. This isn't about what you wish you could do. It's about what must get done, or what's going to make the biggest difference today. Now, I understand some people are thinking to themselves, well, what about things that have to be done on a regular basis? You have your daily tasks. You have your weekly tasks. You can even utilize the calendar on your cell phone to program notifications for monthly tasks. And when you're programming into your cell phone, because cell phones have apps, they have notepads, you could probably do something like this on your cell phone, because Samsung has a Samsung Note, and I know iPhone has something similar to it, and you can type all of this stuff up, but it's not something that you're actually going to look at on your cell phone. When you start applying tasks, for example, a tweak to this is not only do you write it in your today list, you can actually program it into your cell phone with a notification as to exactly what time of the day you're going to attempt to conquer this particular task. when that alarm clock goes off, it's good. And you have different types of alarm clocks, because you have some that go off by sound, and depending on how techie you are, you have some that go off by geographical location. So if you reach a geolocation, a notification will pop up and tell you, do X, Y, and Z when you get to this location. This reminds you to tackle certain tasks. If you add a little extra I do, like I add a small non-negotiable section at the bottom of my today's focus, things like 10-minute walk or drink water. These are my burnout buffers, and you want to make sure that they're always visible and always a priority. Things like, so for those of you that this is a really good additive for those of us that put a lot of effort into accomplishing a lot of things. We forget to eat, we forget to drink, we don't prioritize bathroom breaks, we don't prioritize a nap with all of the physical strain that we're putting on our body, and literally putting these little extra what I need to do's in there. The non-negotiable section that says no matter what's going on, I'm going to stop at a certain time of day and eat. I'm going to stop and grab me something to drink. I'm going to prioritize. I'm going to take a 30-minute break. If I've got a to-do task today that's going to take me 4 to 8 hours, I'm going to force in there 30 minutes of doing nothing. So you might block out 5 hours, because the first 2.5 hours, you're going to take a 30 to 45-minute break, and then you're going to get back to work. The psychology behind this is pretty cool. First, that visual separation is incredibly calming. One of the reasons is going to be because once you write down all of the things that are spinning around in your head, you come to realize that you have less to do that is a priority, and more time during the day to decide when you're going to accomplish each one of these priorities. Your brain can clearly see the difference between everything I could possibly do in life and what I am doing right now. This idea is inspired by Kanban boards, which are proven to make work visible and manageable. So special shout out to Kanban boards. And that seriously cuts down on overwhelming experiences. The second thing you want to do, the physical act of moving is surprisingly satisfying, equivalent to when you're playing those little idle video games on your cell phone, where they have little tasks that you have to do. And each time you accomplish a little task, like move to the left, you get a reward, move to the right, you get a reward, build 3 things, you get 5 rewards. And these little small tasks are meaningless, but the rewards for each little bitty action that you perform are stimulating. Some people get on these games and have massive progress in the very beginning of the game, because they spend most of their time simply completing the quests, the little side quests. And they're short side quests to get short rewards and that short feeling of immediate gratification, and that stimulates the mind. So being able to take something off of your master list and transferring it over to your today list or your tomorrow list, that gives you a level of satisfaction. Now, one of the things I want to talk about is when we're doing 3 to 5, 3 of them you're guaranteedly going to do, and the other 2 you might be able to do if you have enough time. I understand that things happen. We get caught in traffic. We get distracted by our friends and family, unexpected emergencies. And what if the 3 to 5 things that you put on that list, you don't get to today? Well, unless it's a time-sensitive task, it's going to be one of the things that you're going to do tomorrow. So if you added 5 things to your list and you were only able to accomplish 3 of them, The 3 that you accomplish, you get to erase off the board, which is very satisfying. The 2 that you didn't accomplish are the 2 that are still on the board, which should be the first 2 things you do the very next day. And then you add 1 or 2 more to the list for the upcoming day, which means you're going to tackle it eventually, but you're not going to overwhelm yourself with having so many different things to do, because I've experienced this a lot in my life, that I want it done now. Every single thing that crosses my mind, I want it done now. But does it really need to be done now? Will it impact me at all to get it done today versus doing it in a few days? And I know a lot of people was raised on that anti-procrastination method of why put off today why put off till tomorrow what you could do today, which is the adverse of, why do it today when you can put it off till tomorrow. They say, well, instead of pushing everything off, get it done today. But you come to grow up with the mentality that every single thing that crosses your mind has to get done today. There is too many things to do in a life that cannot get done in 24 hours. So you got to spread these things out. One of the biggest perks of the master list is writing down everything that you know needs to happen and everything that you want to have happen. The things that are prioritized as a time-sensitive situation is going to be one of the first things that you're putting over into the today list. Then after the time-sensitive situation, you have the prioritized things that are not time-sensitive, the things that you really want to get done. And then after that, you have the things that you would like to get done, but if it doesn't get done, it doesn't matter. And then once you get through all of the important stuff, then you have the wishes and desires that you would hope to try to accomplish in a lifetime. But you will start seeing a shrink in the list when you're looking at a list of one-time actions that need, and you're day by day, week by week, tackling these things. It's a small, tangible action. Shifting it from the master list to the today list that signals commitment and progress. It even engages your tactical memory. So there's a tactile memory, and the ability to utilize this task will make you feel more real, like you're in a doable position. I don't know if that makes sense. But when you complete something from the today focus, this is going to be where you get the most immense pleasure of wiping it clean off the board. So no more endless lists of crossed off items still somehow feeling like clutter, because with a whiteboard, you write everything that you want done on one side, and you write down some of the things that you're going to do on the other side, and then you erase it when you move it, and you erase it when you do it. So just that whiteboard, and whether it's a 10 by 12 or whatever, just that whiteboard is all you got with things that needs to be accomplished. Now, I would personally utilize the whiteboard for one-time tasks. And the reason why I would utilize the whiteboard for a one-time task, because daily repetitive tasks, weekly repetitive tasks, again, I would tell you, schedule that in your cell phone as a notification for a weekly notification, especially if it's at a specific time of day, every day, or a specific time of day every week, where your phone will ring or vibrate. And to turn off that notification, you read the notification that says, do this. And then you get it done. It takes 66 days to develop a habit. So you have to be repetitive about what you're doing. And then certain things start becoming second nature. You might know that you have to do it, and then you might just have a simple alarm clock that reminds you, get up, if you decided to lay down and take a nap and get you an extra rest in, and start applying what you know that you must do. But this type of method, it fights burnout by getting all all that mental clutter out of your head. I know a lot of people who deal with social stress that they spend more time wandering around talking to themselves. They're not crazy, but they're able to vent by getting the thoughts off of their head, by talking about the things that frustrate them, and talking about the way they felt and the way they thought about things that they've experienced throughout the day. That level of venting actually reduces stress, because holding these things in actually causes poor health issues. And this is one of the reasons why people recommend that other people go and see therapists and psychiatrists. Funny thing is, though, is that psychiatrists these days don't really care how you feel. They're just caring, how does the medication affect you? Everybody else cares about, like the therapist cares about how you're doing and what your mental state is. But you have to make sure that you're going to the right person for the right thing. It is a good idea for you to talk to a professional about it over talking to a friend or a relative. And the reason being is because the person that you're paying to listen to you has a legal obligation to not talk to anybody about anything that you say, as long as you're not potentially causing harm to yourself or to somebody else. When you're talking to your friend or a family member or a spouse, the problem you have with that level of confidentiality, until you have established, and it's never guaranteed, but until you have established the type of relationship where things that you say go into a vault and never come out, you will come to find that as soon as you piss that person off, whether it was accidental or intentional, as soon as you hurt that person's feelings, everything that was put into that vault comes out like skeletons in a closet, like digging up a body in the backyard. Everything that was supposed to be in a confessional, and the only person who knows about it is you and the Lord. Instead of it going to be like that, now it is all over public information. So short a warrant for the information that you tell a therapist stays with a therapist, but the information that you tell yourself stays with yourself. So being able to vent for yourself reduces a lot of stress. And I wanted to side note on that, because this helps you get a lot of stress off your plate. It helps you decant so that you can focus more. And then when you're getting on stuff like this with the whiteboard, you're not trying to keep track of every single thing and its progress and how close you are to the resolution of the itinerary. This is a situation where you are logging everything that you have to do to get it out of your mind, because that means that the only thing left on your mind is go check the whiteboard. Something comes up, add it to the whiteboard. So you've got two things on your mind now. Check the whiteboard, or three things. Check the whiteboard, adjust the whiteboard, add information to the whiteboard. Four things, remove things from the whiteboard. So really, you're just thinking about the whiteboard. But if you had 1,000 things that you were thinking about, and now you only got 4, do you see how much stress you just took off of your plate? And if, while you're, like I said before, if you're coupling that with your to-do list on your organized planner, if you're going to time it on your cell phone, when you're getting notifications, you're notified when to go and take action. So now you can turn your brain off, wait until your phone notifies you that an action needs to be performed, and then perform that action. This will force you to be realistic about your daily planning. You can't cram 20 things into the today's focus. And the reason being is because if you try to force 20 things into the today's focus column, it will look like a hot mess, which is a great visual reminder not to overcommit. You also have to understand that a lot of us work every day, or most days out of the week. From the time you wake up till the time you get off from work, because a lot of people wake up and then go to work directly. And you have, depending on the lifestyle of the person, the gap between the time you woke up, whether or not you're going to take a shower, get something to eat, get dressed, and then go to work, or if you're going to just get up and go to work, and then when you get back from work, do all the things you didn't do before work. From the time you wake up until the time you stop working, nothing is happening besides getting something to eat and potentially going to the bathroom. After you get off from work, from the time you get off from work until the time you go to bed, that is your window of accomplishing tasks. And depending on when you work and what kind of task it is, depends on if you have to wait until a day off to accomplish that task. Because say, for example, if you are not available during business hours, you've got to do something that requires you to not be at work during business hours. Or if you work overnight and you would have to miss some sleep in order to get this done during the day. In either situation, you can't just plan it at any point in time. You have to specifically plan it when you have the time. So you have to find a gap in the available to say, I'm going to tackle one of these things from the today focus. Plus, doing it this way is flexible. If a real emergency pops up, you can easily adjust your today focus without the drama of reprinting a planner page or scratching it out and writing it in on another daily planner. It's simple, it's dynamic, and it puts you back in control. If you thought of a fixed list, even on a whiteboard, this makes you creative, and it allows your brain to not want to scream, because then let me introduce to you the wonderful world of the note card system, because this one is for the visual thinkers. The kinetic learner, the people who need to feel their tasks to really get them done. This is going to require traditional planners. Often the ones that let these folks down because they're just too linear and rigid. You have to idolize when you're looking at a digital planner. It has a specific section. You've got a bunch of stuff, and that section isn't big enough for that stuff. If you utilize digital planners, because they have digital planning apps, that limits you to the accessibility of the app and the data space that is allotted to improve that app. Now, for those of you that are visual, you could do an Excel spreadsheet. You could do like a QuickBooks spreadsheet or something like that, and add more details to your day planner. But now you're spending more time on a computer typing up all the stuff that needs to be done instead of executing it. Then you have to go back to that computer because it is not easily accessible, because not very many people's phones have Excel on them. So you're literally limiting your ability to see the information that you need. So here's the basic idea. Each individual task, part of a project, not necessarily the project, because the project is like on the major list. On the today's list is an individual task of the project, which is why I told you you're not monitoring the project. Or even just a random idea gets its own note card. I noticed that it works. I've seen my father use it, as a matter of fact. He has thousands of note cards. And I mean, you can really get several hundred to a few for like less than $5. You can get a few thousand of them for less than $10, depending on where you're going. And there's a blank side on one side, and then there's lines on the other side. And you can write at the top the main concept of the cue card, and then any detailed factors that you want to include to that cue card. Or you can flip it to the back and add anything extra on that cue card. And that cue card is one idea. That cue card is one task. Yep. like old school library catalog cards or flashcards. Write down one item per card. What to make it even more powerful is if you were to use different colored cards for different types of tasks. So, say work, personal, errands, creative projects, or just use colored pens. Using visuals like graphics or colors help us communicate ideas more effectively, because your brain actually processes visual information faster than text, which is another reason why you can do it on Excel, but I'm like, let's not, because you'll spend so much time designing it that you won't have any time to get stuff done off of it. But the color coded cue cards are good, because you have red cards for emergencies, stuff with limited time frames or very important opportunities. You have different colors for warnings, such as don't forget, or make sure that X, Y, and Z occurs while performing the task. Then you also have, if you're going to put all of these cards into a Rolodex, you're telling yourself that you're going to select an easy card, a difficult card, a difficult card, and a moderate card. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. So something that can be done with the greatest of ease, that may not take that much time, something that could be done easily, but it might take a little bit of time, and something that might stress you out for the day. Right? Now, if you're thinking about how you're going to plan out your day, you could utilize these cards to determine that you could do more easy things today and then one really hard thing tomorrow. And that might be the only thing you do. Like, say, for example, the stress of going to the DMV. You might go to the DMV to do your driver's license. Across the country, guys, it is encouraged you renew all of your legal documents as much as 30 to 90 days before the expiration date. So you don't have to wait till the month of your birthday to rush out there and go and do all of this stuff. And when it comes down to your vehicle registration, you can actually have them mail you your vehicle registration. So if your birthday was coming up in a couple of months, you can order, and I would pay for the 2-year, order the vehicle registration, get it shipped to your house or your mailing address, where use a post office box. And then you can just collect it in the mail whenever and stick it on your car, and save you 2 to 4 hours of standing at the DMV to get that same piece of paper. Now, when it comes down to getting your driver's license, that's going to be a little bit different, because you got to take a new photo, but you only got to do that once every 8 years. And if you're planning to do it, instead of rushing out there and going to do it on your birthday, you could plan it like a month or so ahead of your birthday and go out there and get it renewed, which changes the expiration date. But one of the things you notice, in the middle of the month, more often than not, there are less people at the DMV. Whether here in Florida, we got tax collectors, but there's less people in the middle of the month at the DMV. So like the second or third week of the month, typically in the middle of the week, like a Wednesday, less people. So if you want to, instead of rushing out there and trying to get it done before you get a ticket, where they're passing laws where you can go a month and a half, 2 months without renewing it and not getting a ticket, you can simply just schedule it early and just tiptoe over there in the middle of the month, in the middle of the week, and get the job done. And probably only be there for 30 minutes. But if it's a taxing scenario, you might want to block out the afternoon to get it done, and then reward yourself with some vacation time. Like, go to a park or go grab you a bite to eat and rest and relax, because no matter how easy you think it is, it's always stressful to deal with the government, especially when some people whose job is to piss you off. And that's how we feel when we're dealing with the DMV, because their job is to piss you off. You want to make sure that you go and rest and recuperate after that, and give yourself some time to have a mental break. Remember, we said on the list, forcibly write in break times, forcibly write in self-care times, so that after you've dealt with something stressful, you immediately focus on self-recovery before you focus on another task. Once you have your tasks on a card, the fun begins. You can spread them all out on the table or pin them on a cork board, see everything at once, and now you can physically shuffle them around. What do you prioritize? Put the most important cards at the top, at the project with the multiple steps, group those cards together. If you're feeling overwhelmed, just pick 3 cards for the day and put the rest aside. Out of sight, out of mind. And if you need to delegate something, literally hand someone one of the cards. That's the easiest way to get things done, really. It is an archaic method, but think about this. If you wrote everything down that needed to be done for that particular activity, that particular project, and you want to delegate that information to somebody else and make somebody else do it, all you got to do now is just hand them a cue card. Now, I know that some people are going to say, well, we've got technology. I could just copy and paste and email it to them, or I could copy and paste and text it to them. You're right. Nowadays, they have V card where you can literally just hit a share button of information to somebody else, but that requires you to have all of that information on your device. Use technology if you want to. Technology is your friend until it's not. The more dependable you become on technology, the harder things are going to be when technology fails, when the internet goes down, when the power goes out, and you're back to using those cue cards with a flashlight. Hey, it's whatever. But the brilliance here is in its flexibility and how tactile it is. Physically handing your task can spark creativity and really help with memory. For people who feel boxed in by digital tools or fixed lists, being able to move, reorder, and physically play with their tasks is so free. So it kind of bypasses the analytical, often critical part of your brain that gets stuck on the perfect order and lets you plan more intuitively. It's like playing a game with your to-do list, which can make even a mountain of tasks feel less scary. This system helps beat burnout by making prioritization a dynamic, visual, and much less stressful process. Overwhelm often kicks in when you see a massive, undifferentiated list with note cards. You can easily shrink your focus to just a few manageable items without losing sight of the bigger picture, which is safely tucked away in your later pile of cards, right? It's also incredibly adaptable. So if your energy levels suddenly dip or a new priority pops up, you don't have to rewrite a whole list. You just reshuffle your cards. It's a system that moves with you, not against you, cutting down on the friction that so often makes us give up on organization altogether. It gets that life isn't static, so your plans shouldn't be either. And you love that feeling. Now, the next one might sound a little less weird and more like something you've heard of: time blocking. But the weird and life-changing twist is how we anchor it. Now, Most people, when they try time blocking, just by jamming their calendar full of work tasks, meetings, and errands. Then, if there's any space left, then they might just maybe squeeze in a little personal time. That, my friends, is a recipe for burnout. The me time anchor method flips this completely on its head. You schedule your personal time, restorative time, and that's two different things. The personal time is the time that you have for yourself. The restorative time is the time that you spend recovering from the efforts that you put into accomplishing things. And then you want to put in restorative time and joyful activities first, stimulating positive mentality. These are your non-negotiables, and these are going to anchor you in the best way. So think of them as the big unmovable rocks in your jar. Everything else has to fit around them. So if you had a gym membership that you love to do, if you have a hobby or a sport that you like to do, if you block out 4 hours a day to play video games, whatever it is that you must do or you would feel good about doing, that happens first. And then everything else in life happens around that. So here's how you do it. Get out your calendar or your whiteboard, digital or paper, whatever you prefer. Before you schedule a single work meeting or client call, block out time for you. This could be 30 minutes for a morning walk, an hour for reading in the evening, a dedicated slot for your hobby, your exercise class, or even just 20 minutes to sit in silence with a cup of tea. Matter of fact, now that I think about it, you could always block out about 2.5 hours a night to sit here with me, and we can talk about all the ways that you can improve you for the next day. Either way, like and subscribe as you come through, and treat these me times as blocks that are sacred appointments, that are unmovable and unreversible. These appointments are the ones that you absolutely cannot cancel or move unless it's a genuine life-altering emergency. And I want to identify genuine life-altering emergencies because I've had this conversation with family members before, because people identify emergencies differently. When I tell a family member, I say, hey, okay, so contact me only if it's an emergency. An emergency is potentially you're about to go to jail. That's an emergency. If your internal organs are outside of your body, that's an emergency. If your bones are no longer inside of your body, that's an emergency. If you are externally bleeding, that's an emergency. However, if these things do not apply, where either bond money, lawyers, or medical providers, where ER rushing to a hospital via ambulance and defibrillators is not in the emergency status, it's not that important. It can wait. People in certain businesses will have the time shift of a client and it's detrimental to, it can wait. It can wait. Rushing across town for the exam, it can wait. If you over prioritize something, the stress of trying to meet the deadline of it will burn you out faster than recognizing that there are things that you cannot control. And when time slips by you because you spent too much time on one thing and not enough time on another, You just have to let go of certain things that you just cannot get done in the allotted period of time that you have left. So once these anchors are in place, it doesn't matter what other people find as important. If it's not the levels of emergency that I identified, it technically isn't an emergency. You can prioritize it. And your homeboy gets a flat and you got to go help him out, or your girlfriend's car won't start and you got to go help her out. But it's not like you can't stop and go to the bathroom before you go help her, because she ain't dying. You know what I'm saying? She can wait until you finish and then let you come get her. It's just not a right away kind of thing. People feel like you have to, at the drop of a hat, at the shot of the gun, you got to dart over there to her. You got to Batman your way over there. You got to Spider-Man your way in. No. You can actually wait until the next commercial break and then get up and go out there and go see what's going on. It is not that serious. Yes, you have to rearrange your itinerary, but whether or not you leave in a hurry to go and rescue somebody else, or you get appropriately dressed and then leave in a hurry to go and get, is the couple of minutes delay between when you get there versus when you could have got there. And that's why I say it ain't an emergency. Someone's in a coma, not an emergency. You would say that that's not true, but bro, they're not waking up. You get there when you get there, because rushing to the bedside of somebody who is not conscious, while that is the moral and ethical thing that society expects you to do, if you take your sweet time, you will get there. Okay. But if you rush, you might not get there. You might be laying in a bed next to them. So you got to really think about what is truly the type of emergency that requires you to drop everything and just rush. Because rushing recklessly can cause you to negatively impact yourself. Now, once these anchors are placed, then you start scheduling your work tasks. Throw your appointments in there, put your errands in there. And errands are things that you can delegate to somebody else. So if you've got a housekeeper or a maid or something like that, personal assistant, you can give them some of the errands that doesn't require your explicit signature. Errands like grocery shopping, cleaning, taking care of the cars, taking care of the dogs, stuff like that. Certain tasks like going to the bank, that might require you specifically. Taking care of legal obligations, that might require you specifically. But, certain tasks that does not necessarily require your presence, you can delegate that to somebody else. And you'll quickly see how much time you actually have, rather than living in a fantasy world where you have infinite hours for work and zero for yourself. Because Gen Xers, we have spent a lifetime of having very little, if no, work-life balance. We work all the time. And ladies, this is one of the things that men depend on you for, is because men work all the time and depend on you to be the other half of the imbalance and take care of the things that they don't have time to do because they're at work from the time they wake up until the time they go to sleep. But fellas, we can actually prioritize our time, where instead of us being at work all the time, we can actually be at work some of the time and start putting more of our time into something else, so that we can see the success in ourselves in small increments in a progressive fashion. The psychological power of this is huge. It fundamentally shifts your mindset from seeing self-care as a luxury to seeing it as the absolute foundation of your productivity and your well-being. By prioritizing these activities, you're sending a powerful message to your subconscious that I matter. My well-being is critical, very crucial, very, very important. And this isn't selfish, it's strategic, because burnout doesn't just happen from overwork. It happens from a chronic lack of replenishment and joy. So this method directly combats burnout by guaranteeing you that you get regular breaks and personal fulfillment. It prevents that all too common scenario where your entire week gets eaten alive by obligation, leaving you drained and resentful. When your me time is anchored, you approach your work with more energy and focus because you know you're not running on empty. It also has a surprising effect on your work scheduling. You you become say yes to because your time is valuable and it's visibly finite and precious. Time blocking, when anchored by self care, reduces stress and improves focus by making your true priorities visible and non negotiable. It's about designing a life that sustains you rather than consistently trying to recover from a life that drains you. Now, this next one is the 80/20 rule, which utilized in finance, but it's also utilized in structure throughout your personal life. It's also known as the Pareto principle. It isn't weird because it's obscured, but because so few of us actually apply it with this kind of ruthless consistency, it needs, especially when we're feeling overwhelmed, to be focused on. This principle basically says that for many things, roughly 80% of the results come from 20% of effort. In terms of productivity, this means about 20% of your tasks will likely give you 80% of your meaningful results. The weird trick here is to aggressively identify and then obsessively focus on that critical 20% while being almost brutally dismissive of the trivial many, that 80% of tasks. Here's how you put it into practice. At the start of your week, or even each day, look at your to-do list, which is going to come from your whiteboard master list, where you've transitioned information to your to-do list for today. Whether it's on your whiteboard, note card, or a digital app, you want to ask yourself for each item, if this were the only thing I got done today or this week, would I feel a real sense of progress or achievement towards my most important goals? Or is this task in the top 20% of things that deliver the most value? Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to find those vital few tasks. These are your golden geese. Once you found them, these tasks get top priority. They are what you protect time for, what you pour your best energy into. What about the other 80%? Well, this is where the weird ruthlessness comes in. You have a few options. You can eliminate. Seriously, just don't do them. If a task doesn't meaningfully contribute to your key outcomes, why is it even on your list? Challenge its right to exist. Delegate some of this, because can someone else do it? Even if it's not done perfectly, you know your way doesn't have to be their way. But if it frees up your time for your 20%, it's a win. Because say, for example, things such a mediocre thing as making sure that there's gas in the car when you're dealing with the group setting. You don't necessarily have to be the one that puts the gas in the car. And you might put a certain octane in the car, and they might put a different octane in the car. You might put the premium in the car because it gives the car better performance, and they might put the cheapest gas in the car because they're broke. That's fine, as long as there's gas in the car. When I get in it, I can still drive it. That's what we're looking for. It doesn't matter what kind of task it is. If you do laundry different from somebody else, but they're going to do it for you, that's fine. You organize things differently than other people, but if they're going to do it for you, that's fine. If you bring in the groceries and they put it on the shelf, you're not putting it on the shelf, so that's fine. Don't micromanage how somebody else does what you're not doing, because they're doing what you don't have time for. Bill Gates says, don't tell them how to get there, tell them where you want everybody to be and let them figure out how to get there. I think that's a fantastic thought process. I don't care how you get it done, just get it done. Then if you can automate certain things, can technology handle it? Depending on what it is. A lot of us use auto pay to pay a lot of our bills. We use subscriptions for things that we tackle on a regular basis. I buy groceries and get them delivered to the house, so instead of going to the store and spending 2-3 hours a day at the grocery store, wandering around trying to buy things, I will select a few things that I know that I need and have them dropped off at the house. But we'll talk about this a little bit later when we start talking about automating things, but it's a key strategy for offloading the 80% that you don't really need to focus on. You want to minimize and batch a lot of these tasks in the 80%, because if it absolutely must be done, can you spend the absolute minimum time on it? Can you batch similar low value tasks together and just blast through them in one go, rather than letting them interrupt your day and break your focus, like putting the dishes in the dishwasher, loading up the washer and the dryer while you're cooking, so that by the time you finish cooking, the dishes are clean, the clothes are clean, and sinks and everything are washed up, and you can sit down and have you a meal. Matter of fact, depending on how much you got going on, you might decide to sweep and mop and vacuum while you're cooking. But by the time you finish cooking, you've done like 8 different chores around the house. And now you can sit down and eat. The psychological benefit here is huge. It's an antidote to the cult of busy. We often feel productive when we're just doing a lot of stuff. And that's why I tell a lot of my clients to make sure that you don't fill in all of your off days with just random nonsense. Find something meaningful to do, or do nothing. Rest and recover. But the 80-20 rule forces us to see the difference between activity and actual accomplishment. Focusing on high impact tasks dramatically boosts your sense of genuine achievement and competency, which are powerful shields against burnout. It's about working smarter, not just harder. Burnout often comes from feeling like you're spinning your wheels, working endlessly without making real progress. We actually find ourselves more often than not giving up on all of the things that really matter to us, because we spend so much time trying to do every little incremental thing in life. There are a lot of things that you come to find when you really think about it, that you have been meaning to do that for so long that months have passed and you have dwelled on it and stressed yourself out about it and not done it. So had you really thought about it in the beginning, you could have thought to yourself, I don't need to do this now, and put it off until later and focus on the things that you really need to do, which would have been less stressful over the past few months. The 80-20 rule helps you break that cycle by channeling your precious energy into what truly matters. It keeps your to-do list manageable and prevents overwhelming by systematically cutting out low-value tasks. This isn't about being lazy. It's about being strategic and effective. It requires a mindset shift from I need to do everything to I need to do the right thing. It's a wonderfully weird way to reclaim your time and energy for what actually counts. for a lot of people, especially creative types, or those whose energy and focus just naturally go up and down, which, let's be honest, is most of us. Rigid daily checklists are a fast because there are days when we have a lot of energy, and there are more often days that we don't have any energy left. Being able to add 3 to 5 things to your list, and as you accomplish those things off of your list, you then add a new thing to your list for the following day. This keeps you in a pattern that you've only got 2 or 3 things that you want to do today. Right? One thing I'm going to throw in while we're talking about this is tackling certain time limit tasks in advance. Say, for example, you're one of those people that pays bills on time, pay it a month or 2 in advance. If it's due by the end of the month and you've already paid for the next 2 months, that means you got 60 days to get to it. It is not something that you have to rush to now. But if you're paying for 2 months every month that you do pay it, that really gives you 60 days to say, when am I going to pay this again? Every 6 weeks, you're putting down 2 months worth of money for 8 weeks. That gives you plenty of time to figure out, when am I going to take care of this? But you're taking care of it. So if you've got too many things to do in a different month, you're in between bills. You don't owe anything, which means you got less stuff to focus on this month. The creative task management gives you the ability to fix a unified schedule for yourself. The trick is all about building flexibility and structure that honor your natural rhythm instead of fighting against them. It's about progress over perfection, always, because you will spend more time trying to make it perfect. But if you can get it done, if it needs to be done again at a different time, you can do it better the next time. But if you can get it done, it's done. Go out and cut the grass. You missed a spot. That's all right. The next time I cut the grass, I won't miss that spot. But I'm not going to keep cutting the grass the same day until I get that one spot. It's fine. It is what it is. It's only going to be like that till the next time I come and cut the grass. Or you can delegate and have a landscaper come and cut the grass for you. Traditional planners often demand that you predict on Monday exactly what you'll be capable of or what will be important on Thursday, sometimes of next week. And that's just often not realistic, is it? Life happens. Inspiration strikes at weird times and energy levels vary. And that's going to be one of the other things that becomes even more exhausting, because if you have an itinerary of things that you were supposed to do today and you're not feeling well, you don't necessarily have to be sick. You could be just overly tired, in a lot of pain, sore from yesterday's actions. You just don't have the energy or capability to do all the things that you had expected yourself to do for today. And that is going to stress you out, because tomorrow is a whole nother list of things that you wanted to do. If you are working one day at a time, one set of items at a time, and once you finish those items, then you start on another list of items, you don't feel overwhelmed. Because a lot of times depression sets in. You beat yourself up and you devalue yourself because you believe that you should have done more. But when you think about, when's the last time you took a break? When's the last time you had a day off? When's the last time on your day you did nothing? When's the last time you had a real rest? When's the last time you had a vacation? And a vacation isn't spending a bunch of money to leave the country or go on a trip and stress yourself out on the itinerary for the vacation. A vacation is actually stop doing stuff for several days and just rest. That's a true vacation. Because a vacation from obligation is what you're supposed to be taking, not trips around the world and expensive cruises. And, oh yeah, I spent all of my rent money on going on a Carnival cruise and the ship didn't sink this time. That's not a vacation. A vacation is being able to say, I am no longer tired after the vacation. I am no longer stressed after the vacation. Some people set up their vacations in a fashion to where you need a vacation after your vacation because you come back more tired after you get back than what you were before you. The only other catalyst of a vacation is being able to do nothing in a new environment, but it's supposed to be replenishing recovery. That's what vacation is supposed to be. Because otherwise it's not really a vacation. It might be a tour. It's an adventure. But it's taxing. So if you ask yourself, when's the last time you've absolutely done nothing for several days in a row? That is a vacation. So this method is about creating a framework that can be bent whenever you need to without breaking it. And here's how to make it work. Broad thematic goals. Instead of writing 500 words on a project X by 10 by 10 a.m. scenario on a Tuesday, try this. Try setting a broader weekly or even monthly goal. For example, make a solid project on project X this week, or dedicate 3 focused blocks to creative writing this month. This gives you direction without dictating the exact timing or output for each day. So just saying that this week I'm going to accomplish this thing. So you could literally have 3 things that you're going to do this week, not necessarily 3 things you're going to do today. And this gives you the ability to get it done eventually. If what you were planning on doing gets done by the end of the week, you accomplished your goals without overwhelming yourself. Flexible goal setting lets you adapt to changing situations while still keeping your main objectives in sight. Chunking and audible has its perks. And you breaking down those larger goals into very small, doable chunks, but don't necessarily assign them to specific days way in advance. Keep the list of chunks handy and maybe on note cards or a digital list. When you have a bit of time or a burst of energy, you can grab a chunk and get to work. The key is that the chunk should be like something you can tackle in one sitting, like washing the car. Something not overly taxing. So if you have a little extra energy, like folding your laundry or, making that one call to that one person that you really don't want to talk to, but you just have to, kind of thing. Whatever it is, if it can be done in a moment where in one sitting you can check that box and say, yes, I did it. Those are the little chunks that you're able to take with you. You might have certain bills that have to be paid by a certain day out of the month. You find yourself sitting at the mechanic shop waiting on your car to be serviced. This is the moment where you make those phone calls. Spontaneous idea capture is also a good tool because your brain doesn't always have its best ideas when it's convenient. Use tools that let you capture ideas on the fly. This could be a dedicated notebook on your app, a voice memo app, because people, you notice that you see it on the TVs and stuff, but you notice that like police officers carry a little notebook pad with the pen. You have psychiatrists and lab tech people that have the video recorder with them all the time. Whenever you think about something, whenever you get an aha moment, note it down in the moment. Then at the end of the day or the next day, when you have time, you can go back over your notes and evaluate what your aha moments were. But you can also use digital tools like Notion or OneTask, where you can quickly jot down thoughts without losing your flow on what you're currently doing. And this respects the way creativity often works in nonlinear, sudden bursts. When you look at could do versus must do, you learn to tell the difference between tasks that are absolutely time sensitive and critical, which are must do's, and those that are important but have more flexible time, which are could do's. Your must do list for any given day should be incredibly short, and your could do list could be longer. So you might have 2 must do on your list and 3 could do on your list. And if you got 3 out of 5 things done, the 2 must do's were accomplished, and at least 1 of your could do's were accomplished, and 2 of your could do's are transferred over to the next day with 2 of your must do's, and then you're adding on 1 more could do, which means you still have no more than 5 things that you're gonna try to do today. Your could do list being larger gives you the ability to pick from a list of things based on your energy and your focus for that day. So if you're getting 2 must do's and you know that those 2 must do's are going to be very taxing, you might have 1 could do that's carried over from yesterday, or 2 could do's that are carried over from yesterday, and you're not going to add anything to the list. You're just going to have your 2 new must do's and whatever you didn't do from yesterday that you could do. Guilt and embracing your natural ups and downs, because guilt can make you depressed. Forcing creativity or complex problem solving into rigid time slots often backfires, leading to resistance and procrastination. Flexible structures give you permission to work when you're most effective and rest or switch tasks when you're not. This is one of the reasons why I work overnight because I am not going to be awake first thing in the morning. This approach builds momentum without stifling the very creativity it's supposed to support. It reduces the guilt that comes from consistently failing to meet an overly ambitious or poorly timed daily checklist. You know, that is when you end up with that feeling that you're overwhelmed. You always got so many things to do, but you can't get anything done. When you feel that way, not only are you overwhelmed, you start becoming depressed. The anxiety, the frustration, and the stress zaps a lot of your energy, which actually makes you more tired and less productive and less capable of performing more tasks, which makes the situation worse. And it is an infinity of repetitive cycling, which is why it is important for you to minimize failure by reducing obligation to yourself. This directly fights burnout by aligning your work style with your internal state. It values consistent effort over time rather than demanding peak performance on a fixed schedule. It acknowledges that some days are for deep work, others for lighter tasks, and some for those amazing, inspired bursts of energy. By building a system that respects this, you reduce the friction and self-criticism that can totally drain your energy and your passion. It's about creating a sustainable rhythm for your productivity, one that allows for both focus, effort, and spontaneous sparks that lead to your best work. Imagine trying to navigate a complicated journey with an old, outdated map. That's often what we do with our lives and our organization systems. We set them up once and then wonder why they stop working. The weekly reflection and adjustment ritual is one way to prevent you from having this happen. This is like your personal operating system update, a dedicated time that you're going to be setting for yourself to see what's working, what's not, and to tweak things before you steer straight into burnout land. This isn't some lengthy soul searching ordeal. It's a quick, practical check in. And here's the process: you set aside like 15 to 30 minutes at the end of your work week. You can sometimes, if you have the list with you, you can do this while you're in the car wash, while you're at the drive-through waiting on them to finish fixing your food. You can do this as soon as you get home from work or after you get out of the shower before you go to bed. Or maybe on a Sunday evening, if you don't work on the weekends, right before football, during football, after church, for some of you, during church, whatever you want to do. The key is to be consistent. During this time, ask yourself a few simple questions. What went well this week? What did I actually get done? Where did I feel productive and in the zone? Which of my organization tricks really helped me out? Make sure to acknowledge your wins, no matter how small they are. This boost of motivation and reinforcement is what you're going to do right now to make sure that you have the value in yourself and your own judgment to not rebel against yourself, so that you can find the motivation to get more things done. Now, I know that a lot of you have been sitting here, and I appreciate y'all listening to the full totality of how to change the way we organize things. And I told you guys before, if we structure our personal lives will help us focus more on our business lives. If we find balance between our personal life and structuring our personal life, and finding balance with our business life and our financial life will not stress out our personal life, and our personal life will not stress out our financial life. The goal is to always try to make sure that not only do you have time for yourself, but you can also make time for the things that matter to you, whether it's a hobby, whether it's a family or friend or a romantic partner or a pet, because pets wait around for you to come back for them. And some people are so busy, they've got a pet that they never spend any time with. You have to prioritize everything that matters to you, and then schedule all the other things that you need to do or want to do or wish you could do around that. At some point, you will meet a dynamic where you will get all of the things that you used to want to do done. But note, part of adulthood, there will always be something else. But once you get this process down, once you get this organization set up, you will find yourself in a position where you are no longer stressing about exactly what needs to get done. Then, if you find you a gap in obligations where your must-dos are completed for the month and your can-dos can be delayed for a few days, then you can take some time off and rest. That's the game plan. When you come back off of resting, you find yourself rejuvenated. You find yourself capable of doing and accomplishing more. You can actually look over the next few days coming up, because we're on Thursday, and see what your Friday, Saturday, and Sunday looks like. If it turns out that you've got more free time over the weekend, you might want to spend the rest of the afternoon doing nothing and then start migrating yourself into tackling easy tasks over the weekend so that you can start your must-dos on Monday. If you can accomplish a lot of very simple can-dos over the weekend and then start dealing with your must-dos on Monday, you might find yourself with more energy to get more things done. And when you start erasing stuff off of your master list, you will see so much space in your master list that you will find yourself feeling more accomplished. And then I say all the time, celebrate your wins, but celebrating your wins doesn't mean that we're going to pop bottles and, drinks on a club and stuff like that. Celebrating your wins is recognizing to yourself, verbally, mentally, recognizing to yourself, I did it. I finished this. Now that this is done, I can move on to something else. Remind yourself, I've already accomplished X number of things so far this week, this month. I don't need to pressure myself to get into more things. If you stretch your self-reflecting, because we need confirmation, we need validation, even if we're getting it from ourselves. And we need to remind ourselves, because self-esteem is the esteem of yourself. So you need to remind yourself that you are doing a good job, that you are satisfied with your efforts, and you are pleased with your progress. If you are capable of doing that, and when you start applying that, you will find yourself with more energy and more motivation for yourself. Then you'll find yourself less stressed out, because instead of you prioritizing everybody else's wants, needs, and desires, you prioritize yours and deal with everybody else eventually. This gives you the ability to be more proud of what you're capable of. Because one of the things that starts our developments of depression is that we're overly extending ourselves to everybody else around us, and we do not feel the reciprocation. That develops resentment. If you're prioritizing yourself, you're not needing for much, which means that you're not spreading yourself too thin, which means you're not developing levels of resentment. And levels of resentment will cause you to rebel against the desire to look out for the people around you that matter. So if you are not overwhelmed, you won't be as stressed out, which will cause you to be short-tempered and angry and frustrated and short with the people that matter to you, which will damage relationships between you and the people that matter. It'll also, overwhelming you, cause you to develop levels of fatigue, cause you to oversleep, and cause you to be late for the things that are important to you or the things that are time sensitive to you. So you want to make it a point to fix a limited schedule of things that you must do outside of daily work, outside of daily tasks, things that you must do, and have one or two must do's, and then two or three can do's, and don't do anything else. The quicker you get through that list, the more time you have to yourself. If anything else can get done, if you have a burst of energy where you can just start doing more things, then fine. Start working on your can-do list. Your must-dos, especially your stressful must-dos, must be limited to one or two a day. And with 7 days in a week, that's like 14 must-dos in a week. I can't think of anybody that has 14 or more must-dos every single day. Literally, we set our lives up that way so that we can feel accomplished, but it doesn't feel accomplished. It feels overwhelming. So spread it out. If you've got a deadline is going to be a date in the near future. As long as you get it done by that date, you're good. It doesn't have to get done today. It has to get done before the due date. But again, like I tell people all the time with organizing and planning, start early. If you start early and do less more often, by the time it's due, you're already done. Like I said earlier today, if you break it up into smaller subtopics, subsections, you might do 5 or 10 minutes of every task that you're trying to do every day, where you would have spent 45 minutes on tasks, but you're not overwhelmed. And if you're doing an hour to 2 hours of tasks, 8 to 10 hours of work, that's 10 to 12 hours of your day with 4 to 6 hours of sleep, 6 to 8 hours if you're going to try to get you some real rest. But if you're doing 4 to 6 hours of sleep, you're almost at 18 hours. And the other 6 hours that you got left of awake time, that is when you're replenishing and rejuvenating your standards. So you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to overdo it. When you start looking, and that's why I said, if you look at the bigger picture, you're like, oh, damn, I was actually putting too much stuff on the same day. And then look at how fast you're moving now, because you're doing less more often. You'll start checking off a bunch of lists in a short period of time. So I really appreciate you guys coming to tonight's show. That's all I have for you for tonight. Later tonight, early tomorrow, we're going to be working on tomorrow's topic. So I'm going to be giving you guys some new topics for Friday, Saturday, and you know that we've got our members only on Sunday. If you guys have any questions or comments about today's topic, make sure that you throw it into the comment section or send me a message after the show. While I have time and I don't have overwhelming quantity of responses, I can respond to people in the same day. So if it's appropriate, you guys send me a message, I respond to it on the channel. If it's not appropriate, I remove it. I don't even acknowledge it. I'm not even going to respond to hate speech. It just doesn't benefit me at all. If it starts looking negative, I'm like, nope, I'm not even gonna. And negative is not I disagree with it, because I love if you don't agree with what I gotta say, because you can tell me that I'm completely wrong and explain to me why I'm wrong, and I will still provide you with a positive response. But attacking the messenger, I don't do that. So if you've got some information, if you got a question that you want me to answer, as long as it's appropriate, ask the question. If it's a good question, I'll make a show out of it. Redirect my whole show to make a show out of it. So make sure that you guys like and subscribe. Remember that we're going to be here around about the same time every night of the week. On my way out, I want to say, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. And fellas, we're about 75% male-driven podcast from the male's perspective. I'm giving you guys the information that you need to make and change decisions so that you can become higher value men, not just by personal finance, but by social status, where you are going to improve your character and your personality to be more of a valuable individual, not just to yourself, but to the partner that you choose. So stay tuned for more information as we give you guys what y'all need to be successful. But the ladies, y'all can come and y'all can learn some stuff too. Not only are you learning how the men are operating, but you're learning how you can operate in the same magnitude and make yourself successful, because this advice is for everyone to be able to improve whatever they don't like about their life. If you can think right now while I'm talking to you about any 1 to 5 things that you wish were not the way they are in your life, whether it is inside of your control or outside of your control, you understand that you should be here every day of the week working on the things that are inside of your control and working on how you can get it past your mindset of the things that are outside of your control. With that being said, I want to thank you guys for coming to This and That, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. I'm your host, Xander, and I will see you guys tomorrow night.
My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.